The Dark Pictures Anthology is a series I've long hoped to see on the Nintendo Switch, and after the unexpected release of Man and Medan, I eagerly anticipated subsequent releases. Now with the launch of Little Hope, the second installment in this 4-game series, it's really time to take a look and see if it can stand up to the impressive port we saw in that last entry. So let's delve into how this one compares, and I'll also share my thoughts on the overall experience. My name's Alex, this is SwitchCorner, and if you enjoyed the video today, subscribe, it helps out the channel a huge amounts. The Dark Pictures Anthology then is a collection of cinematic horror adventures, and while each is a standalone story, there is a consistent thread. That is, the creator is a recurring character who narrates each tale, shedding light on our actions and our decisions. His performance in this series is particularly impressive, as I start with him today because he makes you constantly reevaluate their choices, and I really do think that's a highlight of the delivery with this entry. So this chapter then introduces us to a group of 4 students and their teacher. Their bus journey takes an unexpected twist when a detour leads to a crash. A figure basically appears in the road, causing this accident. Suddenly though, we're left without our bus driver, and we find ourselves stranded in the town of Little Hope. Encased by a mysterious fog though, it appears to have us trapped, so now we're in a race against the clock to find an escape. As always, this is a game where any character can die, so your experience and the way events unfold may be different to mine. So I genuinely enjoyed this journey, the narrative. It also is one of the scarier settings for the series, which I do appreciate. The enemies are some of the more threatening. However, when compared to other entries in the series, it does fall a bit short due to its underwhelming conclusion. It's really a shame as well, because I really do like this cast, and also I like pretty much all of the story up until this point. Gameplay in the series remains largely consistent. If you've experienced Man and Medan, then you'll be familiar with what's in store, a cinematic adventure game where the spotlight is on the narrative and the challenge of keeping the cast alive. Now, players can tackle the game solo, which shifts perspectives amongst the cast, or you can opt for one of the 2 multiplayer modes. You can either go online with a friend or gather up to 5 players for a local game. It's a blast, honestly, whichever way you choose, whether you're picking characters, making collective decisions, or facing this horror alone. Controls in the game are straightforward, blending basic exploration, decision-making, and quick-time offense. Now, admittedly, the exploration aspect can sometimes feel a tad clunky, and even though there's a sprint button, it's more like a brisk walk. I'd love to see them speed this up. The locations then are mostly linear, but there are moments to, delve deeper. I'd recommend doing so as well, because they're just a ton of collectibles to uncover and helpful hints as well. Essentially, when maybe you stumble upon the right item, we'll call it, you're rewarded with a vision of potential future offense. It just offers a slight edge in ensuring your survival because, well, yeah, you already know what is gonna be coming. The decision-making aspect then, the conversations, hands down my favourite part of the gameplay. Players are presented with 3 options, one of which is the choice to remain silent. I find this intriguing as it allows you to mould the character's attitude to your liking. This in turn can influence the dynamics and interactions between the characters, potentially affecting their relationships and reactions in various situations. There's also a convenient menu that tracks encountered offense, character relationships, and overall status. One of the game's driving themes then is the encouragement to revisit and make different choices. This replayability is a welcome feature, especially since the game's storyline, it can be completed in roughly 4 hours. Lastly then, there are the quick-time events. In intense moments where the characters are fleeing danger or fighting for their lives, these events naturally come into play. The challenge lies in matching the on-screen prompts, though it feels a little bit more forgiving than I recall. Now, based on the eShop updates or the description, it seems they've tweaked these prompts possibly to be a tad more lenient. Occasionally, there's also a segment where you'll need to aim with a reticle. While these sequences are straightforward, swift reaction are crucial for survival. In terms of other enhancements in this release, the game now features difficulty settings and warnings for QuickTime events. Additionally, the UI has been polished, and the inclusion of adjustable subtitle sizes is going to be a welcome touch for Switch players. One aspect then we must discuss is the frame rate. Some were let down with Man and Medan's 24 frames per second lock. Personally, I was unbothered. The cinematic vibe made it feel appropriate, a sentiment I shared in my past review, which I will link down below. But with Little Hope, things they have changed. The frame rate is now unlocked, targeting 30 frames per second. Now, for the most part, I'd say it hits the mark. There are brief instances of slowdown, and I've encountered minor pauses during scene transitions, but on the whole, I do think it runs smoothly. You might also come across an occasional loading screen, but they are fleeting and never lasting more than a few moments. When it comes to gameplay, Little Hope doesn't aim to reinvent the wheel. It understands its audience, and really the core objective of the series was to deliver fresh stories regularly, and that's exactly what they did. The intention wasn't to overhaul the mechanics with every single new release, and frankly, there would be no need. If you are a fan of games like Until Dawn and The Quarry, both of which aren't available on the Switch but come from the same studio, then you are in for a treat with Little Hope. Visually then, I do think it's a bit of a downgrade over Man and Medan, and not massively so, but the problems are more noticeable. I put this down to the fact it is a much larger location than what we found in that past entry. That was a small ship where the game often operated in small confined areas, meaning things such as draw distance weren't pushing the hardware quite as much. Here it's not bad at all, but you will notice more pixelation. I did see textures loading in at a number of locations, and you will see a bit of pop-in as well if you are on the lookout for it. It's still a stunning location and the fog is particularly impressive, but I do want to add one final note. With the Switch build, the lighting has been dialed back quite a bit, and occasionally I actually found it incredibly difficult to make out what was occurring. It's a game where you need all of the lights off, the curtains shut to truly enjoy it, because with this one you're nearly constantly in a pitch black environment. Regarding the audio then, it is strong work, though I will admit occasionally when you consider the cast behind this, some of the line delivery can be a little what I'd describe as unenthusiastic at points. This said though, they do have a good script to work with, and I'd say the majority is solid. The highlight would be the music and the sound effects, though, as they build out the atmosphere of this creepy town. Things do start relatively generic, I guess, dramatic, you're in a car crash, but then it quickly evolves. It starts to embrace the more unusual, hinting at some sinister situations, I guess, occurring around you. So overall, A Little Hope is another solid port that seems to struggle a little bit more visually due to the larger location, and also the restrictions on lighting effects can impact general visibility at a few moments. That said, I do think the game still looks decent. It's also then been bumped up to 30 frames per second, and the gameplay felt fine throughout. The big issue with Little Hope for me is, while it's a likeable cast, it's a story that really falls flat when it hits its conclusion. If you can compare this to, Man and Medan, for example, cast is better in this one. The story is also better until at that conclusion, and then it kind of, I guess, falls to pieces. I still think it's a good game, however, and hopefully we will see the third and fourth entry get announced for the system as well, because in my opinion, those are the best entries yet. If they do get announced as well, hopefully they appear on the Switch sooner rather than later. Today, it's a good 7 out of 10 from me, and if you're a horror fan or a cinematic fan, I'd say it's still definitely worth a look. So with that, will you be checking out Little Hope? Let us know in the comments then. Hit subscribe, join us here for reviews, deals, news and lists daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.